Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Sydney News. Man suffers burns in Western Sydney warehouse fire. Here is what you need to know this morning. Man injured in chemical warehouse fire. A man in his 30s has suffered burns to his face and neck after an explosion and fire at a warehouse in Sydney's west. New South Wales Ambulance says the man in his 20s was knocked to the ground after the explosion and is being treated for a range of burns. More than 130 firefighters and 26 fire trucks attended the fire, which broke out at 6:30 a.m. at a St Mary's chemical warehouse on Christie Street. Fire and Rescue NSW, FRNSW, said aerosol cans exploded at the site, while a liquid petroleum gas cylinder was also set on fire. FRNSW has urged local residents to remain indoors to avoid dangerous fumes. NSW Ambulance Acting Inspector Gregory Marshall said a man received serious burns in the fire. Paramedics were confronted with a major fire and found a male patient in his 30s with serious burns to multiple areas of his body, Mr. Marshall said. This is an ongoing incident and NSW Ambulance will remain on scene to provide medical support to NSW Fire plus Rescue. Police reissue appeal over fatal Easter show stabbing. Homicide detectives will today again ask the public for help in tracking down those responsible for a deadly public stabbing at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. 2 boys, 16 and 17, were stabbed during a brawl at the showground last Monday, April 11. The 17-year-old suffered critical injuries and died on the way to hospital, while the 16-year-old was injured in the leg. A 15-year-old boy was arrested at the scene before being charged with offences including possession of a knife. Police believe he was not the person who stabbed the victims. The incident unfolded before a large crowd of people in the show's adult carnival section, and police are urging anyone with information to come forward. New body to coordinate Northern Rivers Reconstruction. The Northern Rivers Reconstruction Corporation, NRRC, has been set up by the state government to help rebuild the region after the devastating floods. It comes as the massive cleanup continues and thousands remain homeless. The corporation will set up about 2,000 modular homes, starting with 25 at the Wollongbar Sports Field in the Ballina Shire, in what has been called mini villages. Calls for a more uniform response had been gaining momentum, with Lismore State MP Janelle Saffin saying over the weekend that it was the most effective way to tackle the magnitude of what happened to our community. The new body will be headed by civil engineer David Witherdin, who has previously worked in a series of senior roles in areas, including mining, utility and transport. Premier Dominic Perrottet said the NRRC would coordinate the long-term flood response of multiple government agencies for the planning and rebuilding of essential services and housing. We know the community needs certainty. We are working through recovery and we have an independent inquiry underway that will hear from all of those impacted, from experts and the scientific community, Mr. Perrottet said. The NRRC will be able to draw on the recommendations from the inquiry and lead the long-term reconstruction work to build certainty for future generations. The government says it will operate in the council areas of Ballina, Byron Bay, Kyogle, Tweed, Richmond Valley, Clarence Valley and Lismore. It will also have extensive powers, including being able to compulsorily buy or subdivide land. Ben Roberts-Smith to call his first witness. The defamation trial of Ben Roberts-Smith enters a new phase today, with the war veteran expected to call his first SAS witness to a Sydney court. During 11 weeks of hearings this year, witnesses called by newspapers Mr. Roberts-Smith is suing have been giving evidence. The veteran claims a series of 2018 reports contained false allegations of unlawful killings, bullying and domestic violence. His first anticipated witness is a former SAS patrol commander, known as Person 5, who is expected to speak about a 2009 mission at a Taliban compound in Afghanistan. Calls for changes to close contact isolation rule. Business NSW and the Victorian Chamber of Commerce and Industry have called for changes to the COVID-19 close contact isolation rules to help with the economic recovery. Currently, NSW Health requires household contacts of a positive case to self-isolate for 7 days. The advocacy groups say healthy people are being forced to isolate unnecessarily and should, instead, have daily rapid antigen tests, RATs, before going out or to work. And, if they test negative and are feeling well, they should be allowed to return to work. They say the current guidelines are causing staff shortages and are a burden on businesses. Business NSW Chief Executive Daniel Hunter said businesses needed more flexibility to survive. With NSW airport workers currently having an exemption to the household